What's up, guys? This is Colin Besh, owner and operator of Engineered Training Method, coming at you. We are going to talk about the crash workouts today. I did a video like this with some local workouts, and I feel like it went really well. So we're going to try our hand with some qualifier workouts now that they are out. So let's break it down. Step number one, I'm a big JR fan. Always have been, and did recently did the Crash Crescendo this past year. So with my team, but in any case, I love JR's programming, and I've always wanted to do something like this where I break it down because I think it's just so like elegantly simple. So let's dive in because I want to keep this one a little bit shorter than 20 minutes. So in any case, we've got event number one right here, a 7-minute AMRAP, 5 deficit handstand push-ups with a 6-inch deficit for men and a 3-inch deficit for ladies, and 3 squat cleans, 185 for guys and 135 for ladies. All right, this is a doozy of a workout one. I'll tell you what, it would not be my favorite, but we all know that I'm not the biggest fan of handstand push-ups in general, let alone how often CrossFit does handstand push-ups, but I digress. The deficit being 6 inches and 3 inches, not a massive deal, on top of the fact that it is allowed to be kipping. So I don't really foresee this being too much of an issue for those who qualify. This is not obviously like the entire point of the qualifier is to find the top 10 who are going to go and put on a show at Crash. So obviously, this shouldn't be something that's going to stump them because Crash is known for its uniqueness and seeing elements that we might only see at the games or at the Rogue Invitational. It's one of the, I would say, one of the more unique, like local comp feels that gives you like these like games level workouts and then also invites a bunch of the games athletes, but still has this like super local feeling, which is super cool. On top of that, I always feel like after this competition, you kind of like get an idea of maybe who either is coming up in the sport or it's just because it's in October. So it's before a lot of the other things like Wadapalooza or anything else that we see. So it gives you an early idea of who might be making waves this season. In any case, back to it. Handstand push-up capacity is going to be the limiter here just because especially at the elite level you're not going to see anyone slow down with a 185 squat clean or a 135 squat clean for ladies. I'm not saying that that's going to be touch and go and broken for the squat cleans. It's still going to be 3 quick singles, but I mean if we break this down we're looking at like maybe 3 to 4 seconds a rep for the deficit handstand push-ups and probably another 2 to 3 seconds a rep for the squat cleans. So in total 25-second rounds with no transition, and there's no standard for how far away the barbell needs to be from the wall as far as I can tell. You can obviously have the barbell very, very close to where you're going to be doing handstand push-ups. So strongly recommend keeping that barbell close and staying on it because I do think that 25 to 35-second rounds are probably what's going to be that winning the score here, right? Which would be like 14 rounds. Maybe we see like 14 plus 5 or something like that as like probably a top score. I'm not even saying that that's probably going to be a winning score. Maybe we see like even 15 rounds if somebody is super elite at deficit handstand push-ups and has near no problem with the squat clean at 185. And then they maybe touch and go like the last round or something like that. I mean, we're already seeing in like the first 5 hours of this workout being posted, somebody posted from Mayhem that they were getting 14 rounds, and that if you're not getting 14 rounds, you might as well keep your $25. I still think it's worth a try, even if you're not getting 14 rounds, because depending on how you're going to fare in the other workouts. That brings me to workout two. Workout two, 4-time. We've got 20 bar muscle ups, 30 GHD sit ups, 80 wall balls, 30 GHD sit ups, and 20 bar muscle ups. Now, this one is both complementary and non complementary in the programming here. Bar muscle ups and the GHD, very, very similar movement. I think the ab fatigue here is going to be a little bit more than most are expecting if you're not at the super highest levels of the sport right now, just because getting over the bar for the bar muscle ups and then obviously like snapping the hips to get on top of the GHD is a very similar movement pattern. So seeing that back to back there at the top and bottom of this chipper is going to get pretty tough. 80 wall balls, 20 pounds for guys, 14 for ladies, and 2 a 10-foot target. If you want to qualify, you got to go unbroken. That's just what it is with this. In total, we're probably looking at like 2 minutes and 40 seconds there for wall balls. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on how super efficient somebody is. So then we're looking at 80 GHD sit-ups and we're looking at 40 bar muscle ups. I mean, in total, probably like 240 to 3-ish minute per like movement. So like per bar muscle up, per GHD, and then per wall balls, we're probably looking at a total of 243, which would mean that like we're probably seeing like 120s for bar muscle ups, maybe 130 for those first 20, obviously depending on, or maybe 120 for like the first 20 and then 130-ish for the second 20, depending on how the grip goes. Because similar to the wall balls, I think in order to qualify here in the top 10, you're probably going to have to go unbroken on both sets of bar muscle ups. So we're going to have to get after it there. The GHDs, like I said, are similar movement pattern to the bar muscle ups, but they're not like, if you're not doing it, you're not coming off of the bar. So like you can rest in like the seated position on top of the GHD. Obviously, like your abs are going to be a little bit flexed, but like there is like a easier possibility of rest there. So I don't necessarily know that the GHD needs to be unbroken, but obviously we want those to be as fast as possible because I think that those are like the least dangerous reps for stopping. So like people are going to stop there, which means if you don't stop there, you have a better chance of getting through this a little bit quicker. But it's all dependent on what that ab fatigue is feeling like, because I think that there is some interference for the wall balls. Obviously, your hands are going over your head in the GHD, but I think that there's only some interference for the wall balls in general. I don't think that it's necessarily a wall ball workout. I think it's being able to mitigate the ab fatigue between the GHD and the bar muscle up, while also then knowing that you have to hang on for the 80 wall balls. So I think in theory, we could be seeing 8 minutes here, 8 to 9 minutes as like a top score. Yeah, like 8:30 to 9 minutes, I think will be like a top of the leaderboard score. And I think that that's like maybe without transition time. So maybe like around that 9 minute, maybe 9:15 at a minimum. If we're looking for like still like a qualifying score that's still gonna like get you within the top 10, like maybe like 9:15. Workout 3 here. Workout 3, I think, is the one of, if not the most evil qualifier workouts I have ever seen. And it looks so simple. And I think that that's the point. But workout 3, we've got every 3 minutes until failure, 5 shadow runs, 10 burpee box jump overs with a 30-inch box for guys, a 24-inch box for ladies, and then a 15-calorie row with adding 1 additional calorie per interval. Man, that's just thinking about that hurts. The shuttles, if we're going fast, which we probably will be for the first like 3, maybe 4 or 5 rounds, we're looking at 6 seconds per burpee box jump overs. It's only 10. So you're going to have to hang on to about 2 to 3 seconds per rep. And then it's really like comes down to your row pace and how much you're willing to absolutely suffer on that rower for the remainder of the time, and slash or those every 3 minutes on the minute. There was an Instagram post already that Crash flared. That was, if you're not getting 30 into the 30 a round of 30 cals, then you probably shouldn't sign up. I think they're being a little facetious there, but this is probably like one of the more, or the most like open-ended one that I'm looking at here, because it's tough to gauge like the amount of fatigue that's going to build up over the course of the rounds. Like I said, first round, we're probably looking at 6-second shuttles and 2 to 3 second burpee box jump overs, and then like, a fast row pace of like 1,400 to 1,500 cals per hour for guys, if not more, and 1,200-ish to 1,300-ish probably for ladies on the cals per hour. So I mean, we're looking for 30 to 35 to 40 seconds there. And then you're adding 1 cal per interval. So like, was the next one going to be 38 seconds to 42 seconds? I mean, like I said, this is without like, that's obviously without transition time. So I think like in theory, you're probably looking at like a 135 to 140 round from the start. But then that gives you a minute 20, a minute 15 of rest before you have to do it again at a fast pace. I think 10 rounds is definitely possible. So like into the round of 25 cals for men. I'd be hard pressed to say that many ladies get past that. I think that round of 25 is going to be like the top of the elite division for women at like the 10-ish rounds. Maybe we see like an outlier of like 11 or 12, but I don't think that most of the qualifying scores will be above 10-ish there. So getting through like a set of 24, getting through the set of 25. I think like a winning score you might see on the male side like that 28 to 30. I really do think that 15 rounds is possible, but it's like you really have to like grind on that rower from the start. I'm hoping, or probably having enough rest to like actually recover and get back to like fast reps, like very fast. It's not necessarily like a lot of rest because there's no additional time between intervals. It's just every 3 minutes until failure. So 3 minutes on, and then at the next 3, or from 0 to 3, you got interval 1. From 3 to 6, you got interval 2. From 6 to 9, you got interval 3, so on and so forth. So I think 15 rounds is pretty hefty, but I would be very interested to check back on this one after the competition finishes up because I think it's possible, but it might be the winning score. I don't necessarily know that it's like the minimum to qualify. I think minimum to qualify is probably around like 27, 28 for males and probably like 23 to that 25 range for females. But 15 rounds is just hefty. So I think that's going to be the top score. All right. Last but not least, we've got event four. Event four is 4 times 6 rope climbs to a 15-foot target and a 36 dumbbell snatch with a 100-pound dumbbell for guys and a 70-pound dumbbell for ladies with a 9-minute cap. I mean, man, this is the sprint. If we're looking at rope climbs being like 6-ish to 7-ish seconds per rep, and then a dumbbell snatch that's 2 to 3, we're looking between 2:30 and 3 minutes. I think that the elite of the elite will have absolutely no problem moving that 100-pound dumbbell. I think this one will probably come down to like the pace on the rope climbs more so, which is interesting to me because I think that that's the second time that I've said that it will come down to something on the gymnastics portion rather than the weightlifting portion. If you want to be that specific, I think event one would come down to the gymnastics capacity, and I think now event four is coming down to the gymnastics capacity on the rope. But I think you got to keep your hands on the rope the whole time. I think your hand should never leave the dumbbell, but I think that 36 isn't necessarily going to be unbroken with the 100-pound dumbbell for guys. It probably will be with the ladies. I do think that a few of the women could do alternating hands with the dumbbell snatch at the 70 pounds and just rock it. I don't think that men necessarily will have to do it unbroken. I think the winning time will be unbroken. But I even think that like if you switch on the ground and take like that extra second, as long as you're not like in theory stopping, I think that you could still get like a time of between 2:30 and 3 minutes. If you even if you can't like alternate your hands in the dumbbell, you just have to be able to control it to the ground and switch very fast. I think we'll see the winning time somewhere between 2:30 and 3 minutes on the male side. We might even see sub 2:30 on the female side, depending on how fast they can move that 70-pound dumbbell. But I do think that we'll see unbroken for the winning scores on the ladies' side. So to recap, event one, you got to get probably between 13 and 15 rounds to qualify. I think event two is probably between 8:30 to 9:15 to qualify. Event three, probably looking at 8 to 10 for women and like 12 to 15 ish for men. And then finally, event four, we're looking at about 2:30-ish to 3 minutes if we're going to qualify for Crash Crucible. So if you liked this, like I said, I'm the owner of Engineered Training Method. You can find me on Instagram. If you need help with things like this, breaking down workouts or anything like that, by all means, reach out to me. I am always happy to talk about workouts. Let me know if I'm crazy. I think I've got a pretty good handle on it, but definitely let me know in the comment section if I'm nuts. Thanks, guys.